G'day viewers, Grazza from Grazza's Freshwater Fishing. Lowrance Active Target technology's been around for some time now, and it's been nearly almost 12 months since I've had it installed on my Quintrex. So I thought it'd be an opportune time just to produce a video just giving you a non-biased view on my thoughts on the technology. And with the technology, there's probably two of the most common questions I get asked. And one is it worth the money? Is it worth the investment? And two, are you catching more fish with it? And my answer is always sort of based on it really depends on your individual circumstances, what sort of fisherman that you are and the type of techniques that you use. And there's a number of factors that each fisherman's got to sort of take into consideration. So the majority of the techniques that I use as a fisherman, I spend a lot of time flicking lures, love standing at the front of the boat flicking lures out. I also do a lot of trawling, spend a lot of time, especially on a spot like Lake Epilot, just trawling lures around trying to find fish. But I also do a lot of bait fishing, love me bait fishing, especially up on the Murray, chasing Murray cod. So they're probably the three predominant sort of techniques that I use. And when it comes to investing into the technology like Lowrance Active Target, the type of fishing that you'll do will determine whether it's worth the investment. If you love flicking lures, if you love fishing impoundments, catchments, reservoirs, and even if you're fishing rivers, especially if you're fishing rivers that you've got weir water, if you're fishing above a lot or a weir where there's not a great deal of current, the Lowrance Active Target really comes into good use. But if you're fishing predominantly rivers that are shallow, that have a lot of current, so your boat's moving around a lot, it becomes very difficult to locate fish with the Lowrance Active Target. And the main reason for that is the system and the technology works at its best when the boat is stationary and when there's not a lot of movement with current underneath the boat. So once again, if you're fishing in a fast stream, like, you know, below the weir at Lake Mywala, or below a lot, or you've got a fast sort of flowing stream, it becomes very difficult with the technology to actually locate the fish, because everything's got to be still. You can move with it, but at a very sort of gradual pace. If you've got the Minn Kota hooked up, you know, you've got it on 1-2 on autopilot, and you're sort of moving along a bank, the water is still. It becomes in really good use. Before you sort of answer the question whether it's worth the investment, you really need to work out how much it's going to cost you. And depending on your boat, what sort of setup you want to have will determine what it's going to cost. Now, the actual Lowrance Active Target system, which comes with the transducer, which comes with the Lowrance module, which you install in your boat, you're currently looking at around $2,200 Australian. If you're going to need a second unit to have at the front of your boat, now if you don't have one, you're going to have to go and invest in one. Now there's two systems that are compatible with the current Lowrance Active Target, and that's the Elite FS units and the Elite HDS Live units. Now I've got the Elite FS 9-inch screen on the front of my boat, and that alone is, you're sort of looking at around $1,700. A lot of people are going to HDS Live units. The quality of the screen is certainly up a lot better quality than the FS units. Technology's better. If you're looking at a 9-inch HDS Live unit, you're sort of looking at around that $3,400 mark. A lot of the guys do go up into the 12s, which is a lot bigger screen. You can even get a 16. You know, a HDS Live 12 unit, you're looking at about $4.5 grand. So if you don't have a second module, you really need to take into consideration the level of investment you want to go to with the second finder or the second screen at the front of your boat. But as a minimum, I would recommend not going any smaller than the FS, the Elite FS 9 unit, which you're looking at around that $1,700 mark. So in addition to the actual active target and the second screen, the other thing that you got to be mindful of when it comes to cost is your transducer pole. Now your transducer, which is this little unit here, which comes with your Lowrance Active Target system and the module, you're going to need a pole to mount it to your boat. Now I've gone the Rob Payne pole. I've found that a really good system. It's worked really well for me. Now they're currently sitting around about that $450 to $500 mark, and in addition to that, once you've got a pole, you're going to need to mount it to your boat. Now the poles don't come with the actual mount to your boat. Now I've gone a ram bracket here, which has got a D size ball, and I've found that really good. A really good sturdy unit. You've got a little lock nut here which sort of slides that transducer down into the water, which is really good for making it nice and secure. It's also great for when you need to stall it, for when you're traveling. You can just sort of fold it back up there with your lock nut. You can sort of lock that in. So once it's back in position, you just tighten that nut, and then it's really secure when you're traveling. So I've found the ram with the D size ball a really good option when it comes to mounting it to your boat, and it's just got that flexibility to be able to move it around into position, from being stalled to sliding it across, just undoing the bolt. Once you're out in the water, bringing that transducer over, sliding it in, locking that in, and then you've got the ability to move it around once you're out on the water to find those fish. One of the other things you're going to need is, when you do get your fish finder, is a bracket to mount it onto your front of the boat. Now with the bracket which I've got installed to my active target pole, and the bracket that I've got installed on my front module, you're looking at around, you're sort of going to be looking around about $300 to $400. So an additional cost that you may need to consider is a second battery. If you've got a second battery, that's fine, but if you don't currently have one in your boat, I would strongly recommend getting one. If you're going to be running your Minn Kota, your electric motor off the front of the boat, you probably already got one installed on your boat, but if you don't, you're definitely going to need a second battery to run your second finder, and also to run the transducer and the active target module. So when it comes to batteries, there's a lot of options out there in the market. You've got your sort of traditional AGM batteries. You've also got your lithium batteries. Now I went the lithium 100 amp. I find that works an absolute treat. I went the lithium solely for the weight. You're sort of looking at a 10 kg in weight in a lithium 100 amp versus an AGM when you're sort of pushing around that 30 kg mark. So I just have my lithium sort of just stored in the floor of my boat. So, and the cost of an 100 amp lithium battery, you're sort of looking anywhere from that sort of $450 up to, you know, the $800 mark. So if you don't have a second battery, you really need to take that into consideration. Well, you're going to need it. And also get the AGM batteries, which are a little bit cheaper, which you can sort of pick up around that $300 mark. So once again, another cost that you need to take into consideration when it comes to having active target on your boat. So the cost of the unit. So for me, Lowrance Active Target, $2,200. which is the transducer and the actual module. The Elite FS9, which is the basic sort of additional finder that you can get, which is compatible, which is around that $1,700 mark. The Transducer Pole, which we use to be able to move that transducer around and find that fish, sort of looking at around that $500 mark. Mounts, brackets, $400, and then you've got the additional battery, which was $500 for me. I went the lithium, which is certainly not the cheapest option, but I've certainly found absolutely outstanding performance. And the other thing that you might need to take into consideration is some additional money for wiring, brackets, fuses, that type of thing. If you do need to set up another fuse box in your boat, you may need to take that into consideration. But have a look at my video that I've done on installing it on this Quintrex, which will help you when it comes to what's involved in getting it installed on your boat. So all up for me, it was $5,400. So yeah, Lowrance Active Target, $2,200. As you can see, there's a lot of additional costs and a lot of things you need to take into consideration when it gets it to a point where it's beneficial for you when you go out fishing. So the $1 million question, is it worth the investment? For me, definitely 100% been worth the investment. I have learned so much from having this technology on my boat. The big one for me is seeing how fish react to your lure. Seeing fish chase, swim array, chase your lure, seeing how you can spook fish, seeing fish, take my lure at different depths. There's a number of scenarios where I've learnt so much from this technology. Not only have I learnt so much from it, but geez, it's been good fun. It's just added another element to the way that I fish. So being out on a lake like here, Lake Eppalock here in Central Vic, I had one of my best yellow belly seasons ever, and it had a lot to do with the technology that I had installed on my boat. The big thing for me was finding the fish and seeing where the fish were holding. Seeing where the fish were schooling up, especially when it came to redfin. I had no idea just the amount of fish that you see that are swimming under your boat, and you can see them. Really useful for know when you're actually fishing in the right area. So there was an abundance of benefits for me when it came to installing this technology. So once again, for me, Lowrance Active Target, certainly worth the investment. So yeah, there you have it. If you've got any questions whatsoever about the Lowrance Active Target, Elite FS units, the install, please drop them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm no expert on Lowrance. I've been using Lowrance for some time now. I've been using this system for 12 months. So I've got a pretty good understanding of it. So hopefully I'll be able to help you out. I hope this video helps. If you're looking at investing into Lowrance Active Target, I hope it's been useful. Hope it gives you a really good understanding of what it does cost to install on your boat. And if you want to see the video on the install that I did on my boat, just click on this card up above. And if you did enjoy the video, found it some value, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please do, as I've got a heap of videos on there, especially spending some time here at Lake Eppalock chasing yellow bellies. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you out on the water soon, guys. So good luck.